Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Jinen Dedhia, who is the co-founder of DronaHQ, which is a low-code and no-code app development platform. Hi, Jinen. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Priya.
Jinan, I'd request you to introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us a bit about your. So we'll talk about the venture in a bit, but a little bit about your background. Where you born and brought up? Where did you grow up? Where did you
Sure.
study? And how did different events in your life, kind of led you to entrepreneurship?
Sure. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So, I was basically you're born in India in Mumbai. So I did my engineering back in the day in 2005. Uh, I did my computer science and post graduating from computer science, I was always interested in during my college days as well. Also, we dabbled a lot with a few projects back in the day.
Okay.
So, embedded engineering was really dear to me. And so I come from a business family. So
Mm-hmm.
my father has, he basically runs a factory and, for all heavy electrical and engineering led products, right?
Okay.
So, and at the early age of probably 8 or 9, I used to visit factory. I used to go work on the shop floor and get an idea around how things are really working. And I was always interested during in how things work. That
Mm-hmm.
question is always I was always a very curious person. And essentially those were my early days of really being interested in solving problems that might have larger impact. So
Okay.
that's essentially and I never stopped, right? During my entire engineering career, I think while I was studying, I always had a few side projects, and it that kept me alive, right? So that's essentially a little bit about yeah, me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think after engineering, you also worked for a IT company.
Yes.
And when you start working for a company, get a monthly salary, you get into that cycle of being an employee. So it's very difficult to come out of that because entrepreneur journey, at least in the initial phase, is very what do you call that, uncharted. There is no assurance that you'll succeed, and by the time you get into that phase, you'll also have some responsibilities along the way. So you need a monthly paycheck to get it running. So how did you come out of that? How did you, what was that transition like?
Yeah, sure. I think it was an interesting, it's an interesting story, right? So back in the day, right, even I was graduating from college in 2005. During 2004, we had a campus. Our college was a little prestigious college. We had about almost every IT company used to come to our college to um, for basically for the placements, right? Campus placements. And I used to talk to my dad and family in general, right? And I was not really very keen on really picking up a job at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And the joke was listen, man. See, there are two options. There are two things, right? Either you get a job and you don't take that job, and you do your thing, right? Or the other perception that you might have is maybe you're not really good enough for the job market, right?
Right.
So that's how probably I got convinced that okay, it's better to get a job, and then you can just you can work on the side, see whether you can learn a little bit of things how business really works, because I was a techie at heart, right? I knew how to do things, how to build things, but maybe not a bad idea to learn how business works.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me to taking up a campus job at that point in time. So I joined Wipro back in the day. So IT services was a flavor. How it used to work back in 2005. I worked there for about a couple of years, and while I was working there, the entrepreneurial thing just doesn't really go, right? So you keep looking at opportunities which are there right in front of you, and you think about, hey, can I solve this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in my early days when I was while I was working at Wipro, one thing that really intrigued me was a lot of people around me, they used to take GRE exams and go to the US or, some part of the world to pursue their master's program. Okay. And while doing the GRE, one of the things that they had to do was like, pick up some flashcards and basically like, rote learn all the words so that they can, do a decent job of, cracking their GRE exams, GRE, GMAT, or whatever that they were taking.
Mm-hmm.
So, and back in the day, right, they used to come either flashcards or they used to come like physical books, and mobile devices were on the run. So they just started, right? The mobile devices, like, we call them J2ME devices with a Java on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me, why not really we put some sort of a software over there so that the students can, or I mean, whosoever is like trying to take GRE, they will be able to prep on the device rather than taking those huge books or like those like they used to be heavy as well, right? So
Right.
can we not really do that? And we didn't have this concept of entrepreneurship so well entrenched. There were not Y Combinators back in the day, or I'm not sure even if they existed, right? But
Mm-hmm.
so there was no wisdom. And you should test your idea, see before even you go there and all of that. And like, dekha jayega, like, let's do it. Like, let's just go about it. And we built the first version, right? While I was there. And I was like, hey, this is cool, right? I don't need a job anymore. I have a product now. This is a great time, right? Shadi wadi bhi ho jayega. Like, another job was there. I was working with Wipro. My like I'm starting my own stuff. So like all those I would say things that like my family threw at me, right? I think that all check boxes were ticked, and like,
Mm-hmm.
let's go. That's
Okay.
how I started my entrepreneurial journey. I learned a lot of things, like, in the hindsight, like, if I'm going to tell my 20-year self back again, like, validate the market, see whether there is a repeatability into that problem, see whether distribution could be set right, whatnot, right? Multiple learnings. But that's how initially I got started. But like, early paychecks, etc., they never really worried me because my opportunity cost was negligible, right? I mean, I had a house to stay, my parents' house, like
Mm-hmm.
my workplace, probably like I already like I used to work out of my home, right? I didn't really need like in an office space or anything. Costs were low, opportunity cost was practically negligible. I was single. I didn't really have like I was not the breadwinner for the family. And for
Mm-hmm.
working for 2 years, I had enough savings to like have fun with my friends also on some of the weekends, which I could like if I really had to. But
Right.
unfortunately, I didn't have a luxury of time back in the day. There was so much to be done. And yeah, so that is typically like, what it was. And aspirationally, I was always like, while I was studying, right, I had gotten a Ratan Tata scholarship, right? So I was very, very highly impressed or highly inspired by, the kind of a legacy that Tatas have built, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very social entrepreneurship in some sense, right? I really like and admire, like they just don't do great job at like building businesses, but they also like in the how they come give back to the society. That used to be like a very you know very personally it was very appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So there were two challenges, right? Can we really like a build something which could be like built to last, huge, gigantic in one lifespan, like Bill Gates did it, so many other people did it, and we were predominantly a services economy back in the day. IT was services back in the day, right? Can we
Mm-hmm.
become a product led nation? Can we do product led thinking? That's A. And B, uh, can we really make it really big? See, then probably like, can we follow the footsteps of probably like, what Jamshedji, Tata and the entire legacy have really left forward for us. So those were three appealing pointers back in the day. And I said like, this should be my purpose of my life. Then let me go with that, right? So that's how it all started for me.
Okay. And how initially when you started, I think no code was not a concept. No code, low code. I think it came about 5, 7 years back,
True.
and I mean there was no terminology called no code, low code back then. Nobody could understand what it means. So how did
Correct.
you start? Was it initially the same product that you are
No,
having
nobody
now?
really does that, right, Priya? So you start with something, you keep pivoting to whatever that is, probably a repeatable problem that can really scale, right? So probably this is our maybe a pivot number three, I may say, or a pivot number four, right, to
Okay.
be serving this particular market, right? So
Can you take
Yeah,
us through those transitions, like
yes.
what were the different products or services which you sold along the way, and how did you arrive at this? So at some point you must have thought that, yeah, this is going to be a big thing in future, and then you pivoted to this. So
Interestingly, every time you start something, you always think, oh, this is going to be the thing, right? So, and then you learn. So, okay. So, like I said, right, initially we dabbled with the mobile learning products. We really thought, like, this is what probably, like, our path to, $1 billion could look like.
Mhm.
Then probably along the way came larger enterprises, and they said, hey, why don't we, use your technology, and we implemented inside so that, our employees can learn. And we were a bootstrap company, right? We didn't really, funding, etc. That ecosystem didn't exist back in the day. 2000, you imagine 2005, 2008 sort of a period,
Yes.
right? This was not really even there. It was just coming up. Flipkarts of the world was just coming up. So what we did is, we said, okay, let's take money from the customers who are willing to pay. And they used to be, heftier paychecks of some sort, right? And we decided to pivot. That was our first pivot. We became an enterprise technology, enterprise
Mhm.
mobility. 2008 to 2011, were the days between Java phones and BlackBerry phones. We really did a great job of selling to some, large enterprises in India. And 2011 was a time when Android, iPhones, etc. were coming. We picked up a small angel round, roughly around 500K back in the day. And we started building an entire stack around, enterprise mobility, enterprise mobile learning, right?
Okay.
Because we thought, okay, we have initial success, we have customers now, let's try to go in a big way. Apparently, while this was still there, there was still a lot to be done, right? And so 2011 to 2014, we picked up a lot more customers. We really scaled up. We really did well. But however, we were not really able to, take it to, move out of India and move into the US. Pick up an outbound motion in the US was very costly, and probably, we thought, can there be a better way to do that, right?
Mhm.
So, and again, we didn't really want to stick to mobile learning because we didn't really wanted to, keep selling to, the chief learning officers back in the day. So we thought, how about, just give me 1 second, okay? I'm just
Sure.
gonna pause here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go on.
So yes, so essentially what happened is, these enterprises came and they said, okay, we need, just not just learning, but we need very specific stuff, can you do this, can you do that, right? And we didn't really, back in the day, we weren't really chasing VC money at all, right? So
Mhm.
we like the entire idea of, customers are funding whatever that we are building, right? And we opened up our entire platform to create any kind of application. So we then transformed from a mobile learning to become a full-fledged, enterprise mobility platform. And in that process, we picked up customers who said, okay, their entire employee applications, right, a self-service applications, they were all built on our platforms. We picked up customers like Wipro, L&T Infotech, a lot of, large enterprises, again, in that duration, right?
Okay.
And we also, partnered with some of these IT services companies, and they took us to a lot of their customers. So we were, slowly figuring it out, in that sense. But however, technology kept evolving, right? And at some point in time, 2017, 2018, we saw that Gartner is coming out with a newer vertical of low code, no code, right? And that is when in 2017, 2018, I mean, we knew this was coming, right? We started working around it in 2017 to come out
Mhm.
with a version one of, can we drag and drop and can we create front end applications, right? So that was how we really we landed at low code, no code. So very progressively we kept doing, all the pivots were, near as jumps. They were not really a disruptive, saying, hey, we are winding this entire thing up, but we kept building on top. So today what we have is a full-fledged low code platform empowering developers to build applications on our platform. Very specifically, they are either they are developers within, say, Series B, Series C companies, right? They could be like an e-commerce company like a purple.com, or it could be probably maybe a company in the US who's into, say, logistics, and again, B2C company or a B2B SaaS company. And they are using our product today to essentially build internal applications, you know, which are essentially front-end applications, web applications or mobile applications, and they're essentially letting their employees use this, right? So that's the idea about what our platform does today. So through series of things, but today, 2025, we are doing a phenomenal job of enabling this entire ecosystem of developers so that they can build applications.
Okay.
That's yeah.
So now let's go deep into the particular problem that you are solving now, no code and low code development platform. So essentially it is enabling people who doesn't either don't have the skills to code, they can also become code, be able to develop applications using the platform. And the other set of people are people who are looking for efficiency. So they used to code earlier, but now they think that when there is AI and other tools out there who can code for you, why to code? You can just be an architect of the whole thing and ask the tools to do the things for you. So essentially, it's solving for these two people. But I think almost every SaaS tool today is having some sort of claim and some sort of mini tool inside them that enables them to do low code or no code drag and drop to build a chatbot, to build a website, to build web applications, mobile apps, and so on. There are multiple formats, multiple form factors of this, but essentially, uh, almost every CRM, HubSpot, Zoho, Salesforce, they all have their low code, no code platforms inside them. All the chatbot development platforms, all the analytics platforms today have some sort of no code and low code. Uh, so tell a little bit about the user base, the targeted user base. Who are these people? What are their priorities? What are their pain points now? Because even the chat GPTs of the world have now the capabilities to write code. And let's say somebody now thinks that I want to build application without any coding knowledge, he can simply go to chat GPT.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry. So let's break it down, right? There are two words here: low code, no code. For us, they are two different things. Persona completely changes. You are a marketing person, Priya, so you understand this, right? Persona really is very important to a product, right? We don't. We did start as no code as a persona. Like people who don't know coding, they can just come and they can really build apps. But we can quickly realize that we want to be in the business of doing serious applications, something that probably like say for example, if today I am an e-commerce company which is doing 50,000 deliveries a day, and for your warehousing team or for your delivery team, like for the last mile delivery, etc., if they need those applications to be built, you will not go to a no code developer and you will not really be able to build those
Hmm.
applications with no code, right?
Yes.
So we were very clear fundamentally that we want to build those kind of entire stack of applications which are going to run the entire operations of a company. So we ditched the idea of no code. We really said, okay, we'll just focus on low code as a topic, right? So we need our platform is more like an enabler for developers so that he can do things quickly, right?
Mhm.
Now that's the first thing probably like that we again, this was a part of a pivot that again which happened within our low code no code journey. We said by in 2021 we actually said this is what we really want to solve for, right? So now we are very clear that we want to enable a typically like backend developer to do this, right? Not even a front end developer. We what we realized is like typically in these companies, right, where you already have your APIs ready, you have your data sources available, and you want to quickly connect and like build something on top of it, right? Now there are huge challenges when it comes to you as a developer. Imagine like if you're a backend developer for a minute, right? And if you're going to
Mhm.
write something, you're going to pick up something from Stack Overflow, or maybe in today's world, you're just going to like
Yes.
ask your O1 Mini or any of these guys to like come back with a solution, and you're just going to paste it over there, right, into your code. Now there are two things that you don't know what's happening, right? A, that code of yours is going to like again pick up some, say let's assume built on top of a framework, say React or Angular, etc., and you're going to do that, right? At scale, right? At some point in time, your React framework, underlying frameworks are upgrading. right?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in time, you will be required to maintain those frameworks themselves, maintain your own code that you might have written, right? Maybe AI must have written for you today, or maybe you have written it yourself. But that is where the basic pain starts, right? Because maintaining those frameworks, maintaining that code itself will become will start slowing you down at some point in time. And we believe, because of that, every incremental feature into your operational tools is only going to take more time, more energy, and whatnot, right? So those are some of the challenges associated with, you are uh, you're not a front end developer, but you are asked to quickly do things, and you use any of these frameworks, or if you use any of these things, this is where you land up. Problem number two, front end is a very tricky business, right? So let's assume today, you're trying to write a web application, and you're going to put in, say, you're asked to put data into a table, right? Seems very
Mm-hmm.
simple, but now imagine today that data is just a few hundred rows. Tomorrow that data is going to be a few, say, hundred thousands of rows, for example, right? Now what happens to your front end? What happens to your browser? Would it really stay alive, or would it crash, right, at load? So we call it scalable front end. Doing scalable front end is not very easy. And today you might not even do it. Tomorrow it will become an afterthought, right? And then again you will come back to your application to start doing it. That's where you fall into all these troubles of probably spending so much time as a developer to fix those things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where probably a product and a platform like us really comes into play. We are basically taking care of a lot of these smaller nuances that today probably it's it might be an oversight. Tomorrow it can become an afterthought that, hey, how can I really build a scalable UI, right? Or a scalable web application. So, essentially we do two things. We help you, with the list of ready components, you drag drop and you build a very rock solid foundational layer of your web UI, and then you connect to probably we have about 100 odd connectors in our platform. You're connecting to any data source, and you're bringing your data in, and then you are orchestrating completely again using with drag and drop. You're creating an entire, say, what happens if you click on this particular button. Let's assume you want to do 3 API calls. Output of one API, you want to chain it to your API number two, and so on and so forth, right? So whatever complex logic, you can actually go ahead and you can build your entire web application or a mobile application, with that approach, right? And whatever be the complexity. So today, a lot of our larger customers who are doing this larger, uh, like you know either they are stock trading company, they are revamping their entire back office application. Either they are e-commerce company and they're building hundreds of admin tools, or admin panels, for them to operate, right? Those kind of use cases are being today they're being written on top of our platform, right? Now when you talk about these SaaS companies offering a little bit of low code, no code, you can drag and drop, and you can let's assume, say, Calendly, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Calendly allows you to do some sort of a small mini workflows in them, right? But they're not really solving this problem. They're saying within our platform, if you want to customize a few things, you can go ahead and you can do this. Salesforce essentially started with that, and then they forked it to completely called as Salesforce Lightning, full-fledged low-code platform today. But again, they none of them are targeting developers. They're very specifically targeting developers. Neither Salesforce, neither Power Apps, neither probably most of these large big tech companies. I don't think they're targeting developers. We are very specifically targeting developers. Our true competition today probably might be emerging in these AI, say cursor.ais and levels of the world, I believe. But that's a great competition to have. We are ourselves bundling a lot of AI first approach into our product today. And I think in a matter of couple of weeks, or probably we are also launching our own AI agent to help you build your entire, these applications in a shorter time frame. But again, our persona is not going to change, we believe. And the biggest thing is the maintenance hassles with if the application is built on our platform, they kind of decimate down, right? They go
Mm-hmm.
negligible. I'm not saying they go down to zero, but they are just hovering around that zero line on your on your x-axis. That's typically what it's going to happen.
Got it. And you
Yeah.
spoke about AI. I want to know, my next question is around that. How are you leveraging AI? For example, I think I witnessed another company which is, using AI to build custom connectors. So AI will configure the connectors and the flows by looking at the problem statement. Similarly, another platform is, using prompts. It is writing code native to that particular framework, Angular or anything. So how are you leveraging AI? What are the different aspects you are handling through AI currently?
So there are three areas for us within the entire spectrum of AI, right? A is what goes into our product and helps our customers. That's one. Second is, what kind of AI use cases our customers can build with our product. How are we enabling our customers to build AI-led use cases on them 10 times faster? Let's assume a customer wants to build an AI agent for, say, let's assume you are an airline company and you want to, give these air planners, right? Vacation planners, an app so that, they can travel a 10-day holiday in Greece, for example. But now
Hmm.
the underlying context that goes is like, hey, everything has to be with our routing,
Hmm.
whatever our inventory is available, right? You got to use that and throw up a vacation plan.
Yes.
Now let's assume my customer who's an airline customer wants to build this, right? How are we enabling those kind of use cases? And third is how are our engineers using AI so that they are doing things faster? So there are three ways in which I look at this. And
Mhm.
across the three today, Priya, we are going full fledged into enabling on all three different verticals, right? For us. So we have, as I told you earlier, we are becoming AI first in our approach, so that with natural language prompts, you will be able to go ahead and you can start spreading applications, and you can then get into, there are other small little variants which are coming, and I'll wait for our launch to really do the talking rather than me the talking,
Hmm.
and which is probably happening in 2 weeks time. And third is the second thing is within our components, right? Within our UI components, we are again working towards how can I help you build your AI agents faster? So those are the areas which are typically we are working right now. Like that's our North Star.
Okay. And another query around AI. So the way I've seen it, every company either uses some other AI models like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google,
Yeah,
Llama, etc., or they
yeah.
develop their own AI because sometimes these readily available AI APIs are not usable because the requirement is very different. Sometimes you need machine vision or some other AI model which is not available with these companies. So, how are you going about it? Are you using ready-made models or are you developing your own AI? How does it?
Yeah, so in the world of code generation and in the world of development, right? Today, if you see a lot of engines are doing a phenomenal job, right? Like Anthropic product line like
Yes.
Claude Sonnet and all, right? They're doing fantastic job. We don't really need to look elsewhere. I don't think we are solving for creating our own LLM at this point in time, but we are going to look at optimizing it for our meta code generation. We are not into business of code generation because we believe code, if it is generated some point in time, in future timeline, you are going to look at maintaining that code, and that is where the problem will start emerging.
Mm,
We are very clear on those principles, right? But we are going to use a similar kind of engines in our to understand the context of what the user really wants, why with the help of LLM model that the customers can choose within our product. And having said this, right, we do have a team which is building our own model right now, which is picked up an open source model and building everything on top of it to train it for our use cases. But I would still would say the standard available models are doing a great job, right? So that is what I've been when I'm seeing the product today in our within our staging environments within, right? And we are seeing it's doing a phenomenal job, right? So, and of course, there might be a few edge cases here and there, but if 80% of my cases are going to get done, I don't really really need to worry about
mm,
my own LLM and when will I train it and when will I really come out with that, right? So
right.
today we are doing great, and this is what probably it would really look like for us, right? to keep generating everything within the context of the platform, enable our customers to do things faster, and no hassles of essentially maintaining code or anything.
All right. And here is my final question. Now I'm thinking from a developer's point of view, who is the primary ICP here. And almost all developers are concerned about all the rapid changes that are happening in the industry. AI is coming in a big way. So earlier, let's say 5 developers were required in a project. Now it can come down to 3, maybe 2, because all the manual works, all the rudimentary works can be done by AI now. And so developers are losing job in my close vicinity. A lot of developers are losing. So how would you predict the future with the AI and low code tools out there, which are building serious applications now? How would you predict the future, and what advice would you give to back-end developers, especially who are, always
So
in a constant battle with the technological advancements?
I think my view is a little different than what you'll most of the people will talk about, right? I think we are a little bit in a chaos times at this point in time, right? AI just come and everybody is dabbling, like it's just like Corona, which has just entered, right? And we are all thinking, hey, what do I do? What do I do, etc. Right? That's one. But however, I what I would like to draw an analogy or a parallel over here is when horse cart were existing and cars came, people thought now what will happen to the market, right? You don't need so many drivers because now essentially people who are traveling will be able to complete the ride faster with the car, and you don't need as many horses anymore. The
Mm,
market will shrink. I say, but that's not what happened, right? Similarly, here I don't think this is what will happen. Today, we believe the ones who will succeed, even if you see the ones who have reached fastest $100 million people like Cursor and all, right? They are not in the business of replacing a developer. They are in the business of enabling a developer, right?
mhm,
And that's A. That's and B, right? If that goes what it says, right? Let's tie it up with probably Maslow's pyramid, right? Needs are never going to go out of the place. See, today, let's assume you're in the business of making a software, your feature list is never going to end. Amount of things that you would want to do is not going to end, which means the developers and the speed at which you want to develop your stuff, you will not want to put a pause to that, right? You are essentially saying your developers is going to build things faster, and then they will pick up the next job
mm,
faster. So fundamentally, what you really want in your software is not going to end, and as a result, I don't think the developers' jobs are going to be going away. It's just that they're going to be faster, and you will see a little bit of things that people are not able to really pick it up or do well, etc. Maybe you might see that standard churn could be there, but in my opinion, I think the need will only go higher, because if they are churning code, and if you are absolutely using it, you need a developer to maintain it. You will not be able to
mm.
go away with it,
Okay. But
right?
I think to all the listeners who are already a developer, I think I would advise this: always be updated with the new tools, embrace the technology, then fear it. Because if you don't embrace, it will kind of replace
In
you.
my opinion, it's a beautiful future, to be honest. AI is what internet happened back in the day. This is now the new time here. It's a disruption, and I think it's best to adopt and see how beautiful a future can you really see it, for yourself.
Right. All right. I think we are at the end of the discussion. Thanks for joining us, Jinan. I must say it was a pleasure speaking to you, and I personally learned a lot of things. And you speak beautifully about business, about building venture, and about the future of technology. Thanks again for joining us, and kudos to you.
Thank you so much, Priya. It was wonderful talking to you as well. Very, yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing the podcast whenever it comes live.
Yes. Thanks.
All right. Have a nice one.
All
Thank you.
right. Bye bye.
Bye.